We are not Sports Center. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Debate Amongst Friends. I am the Professor John Gotti. My co-host over here is Doc Leesner, the podcasting beast, and we're ready to provide you with another fun edition of sports news, analysis, and the reads. Ladies and gentlemen, we're glad that you're here. You didn't have to be here to listen to us, but we appreciate you. I'm the Professor John A. Gotti. And that guy right there, the podcasting beast, my best friend and my brother, Doc the God. How you doing, Doc?
Hey, yo. I'm doing pretty good.
You just razored me.
I did. I said,
hey, yo.
Hey, yo.
And for those that don't know, that has been my greeting to Doc for
has.
2 years.
I think at this point, I just steal everything that Prof does because it's always so cool.
I don't think it was cool at first. I think it starts off as like, okay, you might be bugging. But if I start saying a few more times, like it starts warming up to Doc. And then, we kind of forget about it for about 6 months. And then 6 months later, it just comes right back. And that's when it takes off. As soon as Doc picks up on it, that's when all these phrases take off. It never
It's
starts.
It's almost like, hey, don't even trip. It's all a part of the plan.
Oh, my God. It took a good year for you to get on that one.
Exactly. Which is funny because, that's kind of where we're starting with the NCAA roundup. I mean, it took a long time for us to really accept that college football has a playoffs. The one part that stinks is that I feel like it's always the same two teams dominating the headlines.
Like the same 3 to 4
teams. Yeah. The only reason I say 2 is because, I think Clemson was in the playoffs last year, if I'm not mistaken. Of course, Alabama has been in the playoffs every year since its existence, correct?
Except for 1 year. They were.
Except for 1 year.
Yeah, they were in the Final Four for 1 year.
So Alabama's been dominating. Clemson's been dominating. Usually we see LSU up here. Obviously, a lot of speculation against Clemson's opponent, which I think we'll start there, Notre Dame, because of their, I guess, the teams that they've beaten.
Well, that and plus the fact that they got destroyed by 4 scores against the aforementioned Clemson team.
Which, again, Clemson
if it was
is
a close
good.
Game, we can make the argument Notre Dame could stay in there. But the fact they got slapped around, like they were a certain team on Monday night.
And when I look at it, I also see that, obviously Justin Fields, who people were ragging on last week, I guess after his performance. They were ragging on him. And, I rock with Justin Fields because I got a chance to watch him on Behind the Lights and kind of got a background. And that's what I like about him, Behind the Lights, the TV show. Kind of give you an opportunity to see some of these guys, the Justin Fields, the Spencer Rattlers of the world. Because, it gives them a little bit of spotlight. But, Justin Fields was not America's favorite quarterback during that weekend. Okay. Because I didn't watch the game, but I looked and I was like, yo, they're really, really like hammering him right now. And I'm like, wow, like was it that bad? They won the game. You know what I'm saying? They won the game. But then I looked at the stats and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yikes. But nonetheless, they're in, and that's pretty much where we are. What can we do? They're in.
There's
So
nothing we can do. The committee made their decision.
Mm-hmm.
Notre Dame, okay, whatever.
Right.
Ohio State, though.
So what I'm thinking is, and this is what I'm thinking, and you stop me if I'm wrong.
Please.
I'm thinking that maybe Ohio State made it because Justin Fields is a potential Heisman candidate.
That is one of two reasons. I will agree there. The second reason, of course, and we keep saying this every single year, folks, when we talk about this subject, it's all about money.
Money. You know, because I mean, outside of Justin Fields, like when I'm looking at some of the candidates, you know, even though Trevor Lawrence didn't play a couple of games, he's still, you know, up there.
Yep.
I know that a lot of people want to put Kyle Trask in for what he did at Florida, but obviously they didn't win the games. They lost some pretty big games.
Yep.
But the Alabama guys, I mean, they've all been dominant. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be tough. But not to take anything away from Clemson and Alabama. Obviously, they played pretty sound football despite everything going on. They have a lot of structure.
Yes.
Dabo Swinney, you know, structure. And I think that's what separated them from a lot of other teams, you know, even NFL teams, which we'll get to later. I just feel like these two programs, which some people have heard, I've heard people, and I won't throw any names out there, but people have been saying that Alabama is trash. And I'm like,
whoa. We need to hear some names at that point.
No. I'm not going to throw out any names.
We got listeners out there in Alabama, those Roll Tide fans. Yeah. They probably want to know who they are.
I'm not going to throw out any names. I just know that there are multiple occasions. I mean, obviously it's pure hate, of course, because when you watch an Alabama game, it's pretty, I mean, it's not vanilla. Like, they do some really explosive things, but it's like pro-style football, like the way, you know, a lot of teams used to run in the NFL. Like, they're really, really doing NFL-esque, pro-ready style of football.
They're not playing like they're playing in Madden, is what you're saying?
Exactly. They're not doing. They're not following any trends. They're not doing anything. It's football. You know, It's like, hey, we're gonna run the powers. We're gonna run the dives. We're gonna run everything that we're used to running, and people get bored by that. That's why, you know, years ago when Oregon and Auburn were running all these option plays, it was like, oh my God, this is so exciting.
Yep. It was sexy.
It was sexy. But this is just football. That's what we're going to get. Alabama versus Notre Dame. We're going to get football, you know. I think the Clemson versus Ohio State game is actually going to be better because the last time Alabama played Notre Dame, I believe, is the was that the Manti Te'o situation?
Yeah, it was the Manti Te'o situation.
Oh, God. So if they come out playing like that, then it's going to be a long day. It's going to be a long day in Arlington if they come out playing like that. And I think that's why they put that game first. Because they already know what to expect.
Dang. How anticlimactic of you.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
College Playoff Football Committee.
They already know. But some of the other games on that day, not on that day and the day after, I'm not going to go into all, but I see that we have the Orange Bowl, Texas A&M versus North Carolina on January 2nd. The Fiesta Bowl also on the 2nd, Oregon versus Iowa State. Georgia and Cincinnati play in the Peach Bowl on January 1st also. And then Oklahoma versus Florida on the Cotton Bowl. So that Cotton Bowl should be really, really good.
Yes.
Rattler versus Trask. That should be really, really good. And then there's a whole bunch of other games on January 2nd, December 30th to 31st. There's some games, this weekend. So we're going to get some pretty good college football up until the playoffs start. And hopefully they can hold our attention, long enough.
And I'm definitely
to
going to be watching as many of these games as I can.
as
So,
many as we can. But let's jump into just really quickly the college basketball side. I read an article earlier about Gonzaga. Of course, right now they're 5-0, number one in the country, the AP poll, right there next to Baylor, who's number two at 6-0. Top two teams, undefeated. They're wondering if Gonzaga can actually go ahead and run the table. And this is such a weird year,
mhm.
where nobody's really paying attention to college basketball.
No one's really paying attention to college athletics at all, actually, if you're going to be honest about it.
It's so tough because they're playing outside of their normal time frame. So it's like, are we going to get a true March Madness? You know what I mean?
Probably not. And it's pretty much similar to what you're saying, because we have the NFL's happening right now. We have the NBA starting tonight. I mean, it really just takes away from what allowed March Madness to be March Madness. And I don't even know if March Madness is going to be happening in March.
Right. So it's going to be like weird
madness as well.
It's going to be like, I don't even know, something crazy February or something.
Well, I mean,
they might be able to stretch it out to March. They might.
Yeah, but now you have to worry about, star players getting injured because they're, playing games in such greater distance from each other, which is kind of what we had with college football, where we have teams that playing for like 2 weeks and, their star player going down due to non-contact injury because they're not getting those reps week per week like they're anticipating having. So, I mean, 2020 has been just a really bad year for football, for sports in general, but it really, impact football because, Doc, you mentioned it before, football's all about momentum. And just if it takes you 3 weeks to play your next game, like that ruins your momentum.
Yeah, it does.
And if you're barely practicing between there too, like now, your body's getting cold and, the fibers in your muscles are getting tighter. So, it doesn't matter how much stretching you do, something bad could happen as a result.
And then there's always the threat of Kobe D. Williams.
Kobe D. Williams. Shout out to the NFL.
Yeah. But last two things here for NCAA. We broke the story last week about Keyontae Johnson. Unfortunately, the forward who collapsed for the Florida Gators. He actually has been released from the hospital today, or this week, I should say. So that's awesome.
Yes. Talking about a Christmas wish for his family to have him spend the holidays at home, which is great.
And recovering,
Yes.
And one last piece, Penny Hardaway got an extension with Memphis, 5-year extension. He's been helping them, pretty much he's been rejuvenating their program, outside of the James Wiseman issue that they had, with the recruiting issue that they had. They've been pretty good program. So hopefully Penny can continue on his ways. And with that, let's take a quick break and come right back right after this. And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. The NBA returns Tuesday, December 22nd, with 2 games, which I feel like are one is I feel like their national starting day lineup, Lakers versus Clippers. I don't think they're ever going to go away from that.
Not anytime soon.
Yeah, I think they're going to get that for the next at least 3 years. And then No, I think it's going to be the next 3 years. As long as Kawhi is in LA and LeBron is in LA, I think we're going to get that probably for another 3 years. And then of course we have the Nets versus the Warriors for obvious reasons. KD was last seen as a Warrior going down with the injury. His new team, the Nets, clearly makes sense to put them against each other. Quick note, I know that Draymond's not playing tonight, which is, it's okay. Game one, we get it.
Yeah.
I think they said James Wiseman is playing, of course, the number 2 pick overall that we just mentioned previously from the Memphis team coached by Penny Hardaway. It's just so much going on in the NBA, and, if I said I was going to call this reporter out because here it is, we're recording this show, and I don't see James Harden being traded to the Heat. Get this, Johnny.
In fact, the Heat said they're stepping out of any considerations to trade for James Harden. But please proceed, Doc.
So,
not dealing with the usual riffraff here. I guess I have no choice. I'm doubling down.
I forget what media affiliation Emily Bix is associated with.
This is what we got.
It doesn't even matter. But to say that James Harden is being traded to the Heat, no matter where you got this information from, to say that somebody's getting traded to another team because their shoes are being sold in the team store.
Yo, Mars Blackman here. What makes you the best player in the universe? Is it the shoes? It's the shoes then, right? Nah. Money's gotta be the shoes. Shoes. You sure it's not the shoes?
Probably one of the dumbest things I've ever heard.
That is literally the dumbest thing I have ever heard.
Because I was sitting there and I was like, is she serious right now? Like, is this the reporting that's going on? Shoes.
Yeah.
So
this is a thing.
So these are the kind of rumors and things that we talked about last week, and the type of things that kind of make it hard to follow basketball because
shout outs to Chris real quickly. He got his word. She's from heavy.com.
Heavy.com. And I think she got the picture, I think, from somebody at Sports Illustrated. And I'm like, it's just a shoe. People want to make money. It's a shoe. Let's put it in the store. It's a new shoe. Like,
let's get that in a quote, please. It's just a shoe said by Doc Leisner.
Yeah, it's just a shoe, exactly. But this saga with James Harden, I'm kind of over it. I'm looking forward to it being over, whether he stays or goes. I think today I heard, or this last couple of days, I heard the Raptors. I think today I've heard the Nuggets. I've heard multiple teams. I'm kind of just ready for it to be over.
And they're emphasizing this whole thing because they was talking about how he threw a
basketball
and
at a rookie.
I'm sitting there like, are you kidding? Like, did we, Doc, or did we not have the whole world, not just the basketball, the whole world losing their minds and losing their pants for the last dance? And we're talking about James Harden throwing one basketball
at a rookie.
Rookie. But
probably was just playing too good of defense.
Oh my goodness. Like, stop.
There was no video or anything, but it probably was just him.
It doesn't even matter if there's video.
He probably was just playing too much of defense, because that's what I heard about that player, is that he's almost like a PJ Tucker-esque player. Like, he just plays really, really good defense. And maybe he just played too hard, and James was like, hey, you're playing too close. I need you to give me some space. You know what I mean? And it probably wasn't I think
he's trying to earn some time. He's trying to earn some.
He really is. Keyontae, he's trying to earn some time. In our mind, we're thinking, oh my God, he threw the ball at him. Where it's overhand, throwing the ball directly at his face, Brady style, oh my God, my nose kind of,
No, did you just go Martha? Oh no.
Yeah, Marsha. Yeah, exactly. That's what that's what people are thinking. Like, oh my God, he overhand threw the ball at this guy directly in his face. He's bleeding everywhere. He had to go to the locker room, change his jersey. When in reality, most likely he was playing hard defense. James probably just did a two-hand like check kind of thing, or just like threw it at his feet or something.
Yeah, out of frustration.
Yeah, out of frustration. Exactly. Nothing crazy.
And this is why context is so important.
It really is. But media just need to get together. At least they got the figures right on these extensions that we're going to go over, hopefully. But a lot of money being dished out. Let me start with this one, because I was curious what your thoughts were and if you thought this guy was worth it. Rudy Gobert, although I know he's a defensive player of the year candidate pretty much every year, and I think he won it once or twice, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
5-year, $205 million deal for a guy who's not, and I guess who's not grown offensively. Like, he can score somewhat, under the basket around the rim, but 5 years, $205 million, it sounds like a guy that's been signed today, but in a year or two, maybe dealt.
I think this is the last gasp of the pure center getting this kind of contract.
Right. Because I mean, the last person to get a contract like this.
Everyone out there trying to get clout, well, he earned that $205 million because, he's one of the best defensive players of our generation. He shut down the whole league.
Wow. But that doesn't get them anywhere. You got Nurkic, you have Jokic, you got Jokic, Nurkic, you got Embiid, these guys who have stretched the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Now, granted, they're not as good defensively as he is, but they're good defensively. Like, even Clint Capella, who, was up there for Defensive Player of the Year a few times, he didn't get that close to super max money. That's why I'm so curious as to why Gobert gets the bag.
I don't know.
And maybe because it's a small market that, they didn't want to lose him, I guess.
But which is crazy because the cap didn't go up, which is the insane part.
No, it didn't. But that was the one that had me scratching my head. There were a few others that were kind of like, okay, he's okay. I mean, I probably, I felt like it was more of, the team saying we don't want to lose him rather than they're good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really not trying to play these guys because they're young, they're still developing. So, they're just coming off of those rookie deals.
Yeah.
And our teams are starting to lock them up. But let's just run through them really quickly here.
Let's do it. I'll just give a yay or nay if it's a good contract or not.
Yeah, OG Anunoby for the Raptors. He got a 4-year, $72 million deal. I know that he's a guy who's coming along.
I like the contract. I'm glad they didn't overpay him. I think that's
right.
I think that's the appropriate contract for him because he did come back from injury as well too. So I'm okay with that.
Exactly. The next one here, and I'm sure Jay Riddy. I wish we would have got Jay Riddy's comment on this, but Derek White, point guard for the Spurs, 4 years, $73 million.
I'm okay with that one too.
These are good players.
He played very well for the Spurs last year. I feel like people only focus on the fact that the Spurs didn't make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
But he was a great bright spot for that team.
That's true. I mean, and the Spurs just drafted Trae Young, so I know that eventually, somebody might have to, give up some time. I'm wondering if they're preparing for Patty Mills' exit, maybe, because he's getting a little older. Because they still have they have a plethora of guards there. So I'm wondering how long they're going to do that. But let's keep going. Which this person actually got trolled a little bit by former forward Montrezl Harrell, Luke Kennard getting 4 years, $64 million. I like Luke. I like Luke.
I know you do. And as much as I respect the fact that you like Luke, I don't think this is a good contract.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Way too much.
Luke is my guy, man. Luke is my guy, but I agree. 64 million is pretty laughable. Especially when I look at some of the other people who got paid, like especially the next person here. Speaking of the Lakers, Kyle Kuzma getting 3 years, $40 million. I probably would have gave Kuzma a little bit more than 30, but we don't even know if he's going to be on this team in the future. So
I think they just gave him this contract for trade collateral.
That sounds about right. Some of the other ones here, the Magic signed 2 players back. You got Jonathan Isaac, 4 years, $80 million. Which Jonathan Isaac, he's pretty up and coming player as well. And then Markelle.
I'm okay with it. Hopefully he will play up to that contract.
Right. That's why it's kind of interesting that Markelle Fultz, who people have said, is their new, foundation. 3 years, $50 million deal for Fultz.
I'm okay with that deal too.
He started late. Yeah, he started late, obviously,
I would like that's a okay, let's see what you got, kid. Earn it kind of contract.
Right. And the other 2 that haven't been done, they've decided that they won't sign their rookie extensions, both Lonzo Ball and Lauri Markkanen, which I don't blame Lauri Markkanen. I really think it's time for him to try and force his way out of Chicago.
If there's anyone that I would love my Knickerbockers to overpay for to bring in,
it's Markkanen.
I would love to have Markkanen on my team.
Yeah, he's a solid player. And Lonzo.
In fact, I actually think he'll be a better fit for your Rockets, actually.
I agree. I mean, I wasn't going to say it because, me, I always want people on the Rockets.
I'm looking at this objectively. Like, as much as I would love to see him on the Knicks, my Knicks have something going on there. As long as they keep Dolan out.
Right. Yeah,
we can make some noise.
No, without question. And I don't know.
To the Rockets would be really, really good.
Yeah, and I don't know what
he plays pretty good defense. I don't think people understand that, but that's because he played with Chicago.
He plays with Chicago.
In fact,
and they're loaded. They're so loaded at the forward and center positions. That's the part that stinks.
His best destination, honestly, is the Spurs. I just thought about that.
I can agree with that. That would be
that's his perfect. That's the perfect destination. Him with those younger talent. Like, come on.
Yeah. No, I can understand that. And I don't know what Lonzo's going to do. I think maybe Lonzo wants to go to a city with brighter lights. A bigger market team, how his dad is. I don't know. Or he just wants a bigger payday, which I don't know if he deserves it or not with the talent that they have there.
He might want to go to Miami. I'm thinking about that. He might want to go to Miami.
I see a team like that. Yeah, a bigger market like that. That would see. I could see him there. With Jimmy Butler, and I can also understand. Just to go back a little bit, why the Heat wouldn't want to make any trades because number one, they just made it to the finals. Although it's a bubble year, I get it. They just made it to the finals.
I'm still waiting for people. Once again, absolutely no one's talking about whether or not this last season was an asterisk year. By the way, I just want to put that out. Not one person mentioned that this was an asterisk season.
Yeah, no, nobody.
So Guy got news about that.
Listen, Only if another team won. You know how it is.
I said this, Doc. I've
You
been
did.
saying this.
You did. And the last thing I have here, the Bucks were finally penalized for the Bogdanovich trade fiasco. They lost a 2022 second round pick.
Which is like
that trade.
wrist.
Yeah, it really is. That trade was wild. And obviously he was like, hey, I don't want nothing to do with this. And, the Bucks get penalized for it, which is fine. But that's all that I have for the NBA. I think it's going to be a fun season, despite all the foolishness going on. I was really hoping that the shoe and the Heat store was a selling point for me, that this trade was going to go through, but it was not even close. But I just want to know what's going to happen, because I'm really excited for my Rockets this year. We got new life, a new coach, new GM. So I just want something new. I mean, you got to be excited for your Knicks,
I mean, Doc said it himself. It's going to be a very, fun season to watch. Unfortunately, I'm only going to be watching the Knicks. I'm not watching any other team, maybe the Rockets.
And I don't blame
you. But like Doc said, I'm really excited for my Knicks. We have young talent. We got people that are hungry as well, too. Our two rookies have been playing amazing in the preseason. Of course, I don't care about the preseason. I only care about what you do in the beginning of the season. But from what I've seen, there is promise. I'm just waiting to see what RJ Barrett does season 2. And I mean, Kevin Knox was hitting threes in the preseason. Let's see if that carries over. If not, he's going to get traded.
Yeah, RJ, I'm not sure. We'll see what happens.
Kevin Knox getting traded. If he
good, I can see Knox traded.
He was hitting like high 50 in 3-point range during the preseason.
And I mean, I know a lot of people.
If he at least hit 45%, well, at least 41% from 3, I'll be happy. But if he starts off like 1 and like 25, we're gonna have another conversation about that. But that's here or there. We will wait until what I just said comes true. But Doc, folks, we'll be right back with more Debate Amongst Friends right after this. And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Doc, at the 30, the 25, the 20, the 15, 10, 5, touchdown! Jets, as they win their first game of the season. The curse is broken. Another phrase that Doc liked to say, this house is clear.
These pipes are clean.
It's clear. Oh God, that's too funny.
I apologize to the Doc's wife for starting that back up with him again.
No, that's freaking hilarious. Oh my God. But yeah, the Jets have done it. It stinks because obviously the repercussions of winning, and this kind of goes back to, I guess, winning for pride. You know what I mean? Like, so now it's like, hey, have they really just like really stunk this whole time, or have they been sandbagging? You know what I mean? It's so weird.
They were not sandbagging.
It's
they
like, oh my God. It's so
first
tough.
It's so
tough.
The Avengers Infinity War part with Gamora and Thanos at the end.
Oh, what did you give up? Yeah.
So that's like perfect metaphor for what happened there. But it's like Doc and I kept saying, we don't know what Rams team we're going to get each week.
No idea.
And it just so happened we got the bad Rams this week.
And that's the part that stinks because it's like, of course, the Bucks got the great Rams. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm just
that's the
saying.
kind of stuff that we have to deal with. But yeah, but were these good Jets, or you think that it's just bad Rams?
Bad Rams. Like horrid Rams. This is exactly what this is the same pattern we've seen with the Los Angeles Rams all season long. And for those that are surprised that they lost to the Jets, why are you surprised? Why are you surprised? Well, A, because you're not watching the games, that's firstly. 2, you're not looking at the stats correctly, dude, but that goes without saying. But the Rams have not been playing consistently. Yeah, they beat the Doc's Bucks, and they made it look convincingly. But I believe the very next week they got their butts kicked.
So when I called my dad on Sunday, and of course, you know me, I was putting together a puzzle while the Bucks game was on. Yeah, he asked me what I was doing. I was like, "Yeah, I'm watching the Bucks, but I'm also putting this puzzle together because it's more entertaining than what I want than this crap."
It's like you need to turn to this game.
He said that the Jets always scored early, like their first drive, or like they always came out strong. They just didn't finish games, which we almost saw in this Rams game because obviously the last couple of weeks you've seen Hail Marys given up, you've seen terrible coverages, we've seen a defensive coordinator fired, and then this Rams game comes along and probably cost a lot of people a lot of money.
I didn't even think about that. Holy crap.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it probably costs people a lot of money.
And probably 1 or 2 people just made a bunch of money, actually. Holy crap.
Yeah,
the payout for that is yikes.
Yeah.
So I'm probably gonna need to find that information to put that out there. So folks, if y'all want to know what was the payout for this game, we're gonna put that on our social media. Facebook group, Debate Amongst Friends, and at Debate Amongst Friends on Twitter. So we're gonna find out this information.
Yeah, we definitely have to know because that game right there is probably a big one. But but the Jets did it, and now the Jaguars hold the card. Which again, if I'm the Jaguars, is quarterback my major issue?
No,
it's not.
It's not really.
So they can pretend that they want Trevor Lawrence to, of course, get the Jets to foolishly trade up, which would be smart. But also
for like 2 firsts and like.
Yeah, it's gonna be a draft day trade scenario where Sonny Weaver Jr. gives up next 3 years first round picks.
Yep.
And then trades them back to pick up my man Monte. But I don't know. I think the Jets should just stick to a plan. I mean, it's Trevor Lawrence, or there's a lot of other quarterbacks. I mean, this year, obviously, it was Joe Burrows, Justin Herbert. There was a couple quarterbacks in there that really, really could compete. Is the problem really Sam Darnold? You understand what I'm saying?
I feel like at this point now, Sam Darnold is now collateral damage.
Sam Darnold is similar to what we saw a little while ago. Josh Rosen, who just was picked up from the Bucks practice squad by the 49ers.
We made the same proclamation about Dwayne Haskins as well. We'll get to him in a second.
And you know who else I forgot about? And this is somebody.
I also remember this too. People were saying that Baker was that just last season.
We were going to get to Baker, though, and I'm going to tell you something about Baker. But the last person I was going to actually compare it to was Johnny Manziel.
Yes.
Because Johnny fell all the way down, I think, to the mid to late first round.
Yep.
And he had that terrible face. I think Aaron Rodgers fell. He had a terrible face.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers
Lamar Jackson.
Deep.
Lamar Jackson obviously fell, and they had that. I'm going to prove you wrong, but it's like they all had coaches that believed in
In them.
them.
Yep. Well, coaches
Where,
and the front office that believe in them.
where you have this Jets team that's like,
Like
ugh.
we're just gonna throw this this
Yeah,
water bottle at this wall. Hopefully it sticks. We're
yeah.
gonna keep on trying. Why is it not sticking?
Let's sign these second and third string wide receivers. Hopefully, we get a number one out of this.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know what I mean? Instead of going out on a limb. I mean, obviously they drafted Mekhi Becton, which is perfect. He's been a great tackle for them.
Yep.
They've signed some really good players, but they don't have any playmakers. And we talked about that with a lot of teams, that are struggling now on playmakers. So when you look at the Browns, which we'll get into, the Jacksonville Jaguars, which they've gotten rid of all their playmakers.
Yep.
I mean, the teams need playmakers. So you mentioned Dwayne Haskins and the Washington football team.
Excellent.
Obviously, they're trying to build a new culture there in Washington. Riverboat Ron is trying to do something that a lot of Redskin coaches have tried to do: change the culture. The name has changed. I think that already started.
That started.
So I don't know what has to happen, but Dwayne Haskins, even though he's young, this whole strip club incident, this is not it.
No, that shows a lack of maturity at that point.
And I hate that because Dwayne was really good in college.
He apologized for it. The problem is you are a starting quarterback for a national football team.
Right, exactly. There's it's too late.
Yes, there is no
too late to apologize.
Especially for black quarterbacks. Are you kidding me?
Oh my God. It's too late. I mean, you're
and
young.
I'm not trying to go Stephen A. Smith. I'm not trying to play the race card. But black quarterbacks have to work especially harder.
But he's not even winning.
And that's the worst part, is the fact that he's not even winning and he's acting like
he's not winning. Yeah, you can't do that if you're not winning. So we'll be watching him and see if the Washington football team can win the NFC East. It's still pretty wide open, it seems like.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, actually. I'm not gonna lie.
Which also the AFC, is that the West or is that the North? That's the North.
The North, yeah.
Is apparently open for business after the Steelers' third straight loss.
So we're going to do a quick panic meter real quickly, Doc. Is it time to panic on those Steelers?
That button has been pressed.
Because I'm hitting that button. In fact, Doc, I stood up.
And here comes the most electrifying move in sports entertainment.
I took off my elbow pad, tossed it out there to you, the people. I move my hands back and forth. I run to one rope, hop over that Steelers team, run to the other rope. I stop right in front of the Steelers team, lift my right leg up, and I drop that elbow right there on that panic button.
Dang. Oh, my goodness. So Steelers are officially, even though they're going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, they're going to make the playoffs, but they don't want to limp into the playoffs.
So here's my issue with the Steelers. Number one, and let me start because I didn't start off with this. Hold on. Let me go back. So first and foremost, congratulations to Team Storm making it to the fantasy football championship. It was a tough game. I made a lot of horrible decisions. Oh my God, the decisions were horrible. The horrible decisions were endless. I mean, like an endless buffet. It was just like bad decision after bad decision, topped with bad decision. Luckily for me, I did not need the Pittsburgh Steelers defense last night. Even though they wound up turning it around in the second half, they were atrocious
They're pretty bad.
versus
They're really,
the
really bad.
Cincinnati Bengals. And the panic meter is alive and well and being hit on my side as well. So first of all, Juju doing the Juju on these logos has done nothing for them whatsoever.
Here's the problem. I don't even think it's because of Juju doing that. And I know a lot of football players like to be superstitious.
Sure.
The offense haven't been playing well at all.
Well, that's because they, again, lack playmakers. They let Antonio Brown go because of his attitude. They let Le'Veon Bell go because of his attitude. And now the people that you chosen to replace them have not stepped up. So you have Juju Smith-Schuster, who, again, I had to drop him because he just wasn't getting the targets or the catches. So this is supposed to be your number one guy, and he's not doing anything but dancing on logos.
Pissing off the opposing team's defense.
Yeah. James Conner, who didn't play yesterday or Monday night, he's been all wishy-washy. He needs to
that was a coach's decision.
I don't blame him. I would make the same decision. That guy needs some milk. Because he's just not strong anymore.
It's because they were looking beyond that game.
No, he's not good anymore. It's like I don't think he was ever supposed to be like he was never supposed to be a lead back, and I think it's showing. His speed is questionable. His power now is questionable.
Yep.
I gave him all the credit in the world. You know, he overcame, I think, leukemia, I think it was. But the guy is just not cutting it. I've seen Pittsburgh fans, screaming and yelling on Facebook, talk about how slow he is, how this and that. They just don't have the playmakers. Ben is doing everything he can, but without, Ben's life was so easy when he could just sit back, throw the ball as far as he could, as hard as he could,
and knowing
anywhere.
that he had
Antonio Brown could just run and go get it. They could put any offensive line together and give the ball to Le'Veon Bell. Yep. He's going to pause, DVR the lineman, and then he's going to hit the hole with the slowest, I don't even know how he does it. It's almost like he literally goes to the hole, he pauses the show, he pauses the game, and then he proceeds forward. It's the craziest thing, but it works for him.
And we're not forgetting about you, Eric Ebron, as well, who has been just
so Ebron coming over from Detroit, he's good.
But he's not like number one receiver.
He's not a Kelsey. He's not a Kelsey. He's not.
Which is crazy because Jesse James was on the team the previous year, and he was their top tight end.
Agreed. And there was nothing wrong with Jesse James.
There was nothing wrong with him. I just didn't think they wanted to pay him that money.
They didn't want to pay him the money. Exactly. So the Steelers got the panic meter hitting, and the Browns are literally on fire. Of course, they lost to the Ravens last week, which is fine. They played a great game. They could have gotten blown out.
I really enjoyed the fact that the last two Monday Night Football games were absolutely incredible to watch, by the
way. Yeah, I agree. Despite the Steelers not playing great, at least it wasn't a blowout. They fought to the end. And shout out to the Giants on Sunday night for holding Nick Chubb down for me. That's all I really needed.
That's hilarious.
But let's talk about these scenarios, these seedings and scenarios, boy.
We'll do that, but we'll be right back right after this.
We are back. Let's jump in directly into the seeding, the playoff berths, the locks. Let's go through it. Last week we went over the teams that still had a chance, but let's go over some scenarios, Johnny. Where would you like to start?
Let's start at the AFC. I will go through these as quickly as possible, folks, and then we will recap these scenarios to find out who will clinch their place at the table.
If you can't make them respect us, then you don't have a place at the table.
Starting off
I'm not gonna
with
say
those
anything.
aforementioned Cleveland Browns, facing off against the 1-13 New York Jets.
Right.
They will clinch a playoff berth with a win and a Baltimore loss or tie, or a win and a Miami loss or tie, or a win and a Indianapolis Colts loss, or a tie and a Baltimore loss, or a tie and a Miami loss.
That's pretty good odds. I think, to beat the Jets, unless Baker and the Browns pull a Rams, I think
You know what the craziest part about all this is? They still have a chance to win the division.
right, and that's the thing because of the Steelers. It stinks, but they've been playing pretty bad, and if they go into the playoffs like that, it'll be an early exit for them.
Yeah, it'd be a one-hitter quitter for them, unfortunately.
Next up, but let's go on. I can do this. I can do the next one here.
Go for it, Doc.
We have the Indianapolis Colts who play at the aforementioned Pittsburgh Sunday, 1:00. I'm curious if Pittsburgh is going to rest more of their starters, but we'll see what happens. So we have the Colts
not the
at
right
10-4.
Resting starters.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I understand. Indianapolis will clinch a playoff berth with a win and a Baltimore loss or tie, a win or a win and, a Miami loss or tie, or an Indianapolis tie plus a Baltimore loss, or an Indianapolis tie plus a Miami loss, which is still good odds. They have a pretty solid team. Their defense is playing great. I think the Colts are a team that nobody talks about.
Nope.
We'll see another
Prof.
we'll see another Phillip Rivers versus Ben, matchup, which I think the Colts could win.
I think this one is possible as well.
Mm-hmm.
I actually see the first two scenarios actually occurring.
Yeah, I agree. I will do the next one also.
All right.
So the Kansas City Chiefs, they're in the playoffs already. We know that. But they will clinch a first round. Division. Yeah, they'll clinch a first round bye with a win. Period. It looks like if Pittsburgh loses or ties, I'm not even going to go with Kansas City tying because I just don't see Kansas City tying with Atlanta. I don't think Atlanta stinks.
Don't put that out there in the atmosphere.
No, I will put it out there. And I'm sorry, Kansas City fans, but I just don't see it happening. They will clinch a first round bye with a Buffalo loss or tie, or the last one here, Kansas City clinches strength of victory tiebreaker over Pittsburgh or Buffalo and clinches at least if there's a tie, it says a tie and strength of victory tiebreaker over the other club.
The other three clubs, yep.
So yeah, they're gonna clinch. It seems like it just looks like I can't see them losing to Atlanta. And don't get me wrong, Atlanta played a great game versus Tampa, but I can't see them playing that well against Kansas City. I'm just not buying it.
All right, I'll do the next one. We have the Pittsburgh Steelers, 11-3, going up against the Indianapolis Colts on Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. They will clinch the AFC North Division title if they just win, baby.
Just
or
win.
a Cleveland loss, or both the Steelers and the Browns tie.
So this is going to probably come down to the last
week. Yeah, it's
but the good thing about Cleveland is Cleveland doesn't need Pittsburgh to lose to make the playoffs.
Nope.
Which is awesome. So yeah, this is going to come down probably to the last week for
last week.
This NFC North title. So that's something to keep an eye on. I guess just read through Tennessee, man. The Dukes Titans.
All right, the Dukes. Oh, Henry's playing against that bad man. You like the way I did that?
Oh yeah,
playing up against the bad man Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers Sunday night. They will clinch the AFC South Division title with both them winning and the Colts losing. They will clinch a playoff berth with them winning flat out, a Miami loss flat out, a Baltimore loss flat out, or them tying and the Ravens tying.
So they're going to clinch, at least. We'll see. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, we both said we got the Colts winning. So them clinching the AFC South Division title isn't happening until week 17, which is great.
But I don't want to play the Green Bay Packers out, even though they'll have to put up with Derrick Henry all game.
Yeah, and their run defense is
that's no bueno.
It's not like it's trash, but it definitely has a lot to be desired.
Okay, let's jump over to the NFC. There's less scenarios.
Far less scenarios. There's more teams, but less scenarios for each team.
Yeah, that's what I said. Less scenarios, more teams, less scenarios.
Right,
NFC. We'll start with the Cardinals, 8-6 versus the San Francisco 49ers, which, depending on who they start at quarterback, obviously we know Nick Mullins is out with an elbow injury. The Cardinals clinch and potentially win me a championship with Kyler Murray if they win. You like I'll do that in there, but if they win and have a Chicago loss or tie, and then if they tie and have a Chicago loss. So Tyler, the great Murray, if he can just dominate the 49ers one more time for me, that would be wonderful. They'll clinch a playoff berth.
Well, this is definitely going to be a divisional matchup, so it's going to be a hard-fought win for the Cardinals.
Exactly.
Next up, we have the Green Bay Packers, 11-3, faced off against the Tennessee Titans Sunday night.
Mm-hmm.
They will clinch a first-round bye with a win and a Seattle loss or tie. Or if they tie, a Saints loss or tie and a Seattle loss or tie, as long as both New Orleans and Seattle don't tie. So they both can't tie. They both have to either lose or tie. So you get what I'm saying?
I do.
Okay.
So the Rams, who do play those Seattle Seahawks, clinch a playoff berth with a win or tie, or a Chicago loss or tie, an Arizona win or tie, which that win part is kind of weird, but I guess because
strength, it's based off of the person that they're it's based off.
So the Rams have a high chance of making it regardless if they win or lose, which is pretty awesome. Now the one thing that's interesting is the next one, the Saints.
Mm-hmm.
So it says the Saints win the NFC South Division title with a win or a Tampa Bay loss.
Yep.
Or I guess a tie for New Orleans and Tampa, which I didn't even know that we still had a chance.
Yeah, you still have a chance. You still got a puncher's chance of that.
Wow, that's so crazy. But yeah, that's that. I guess because New Orleans lost those couple games, and
Yeah.
I thought because they swept us that they would automatically win, but that's insane.
No, not yet. I think if y'all both ended with the same record, they would win the division because of the
We buns,
tiebreaker.
so I don't know what's gonna happen.
The Seattle Seahawks, 10-4, face off against the Los Angeles Rams on Sunday afternoon. They will clinch the NFC West division title with just a win.
Just win, baby. And then the aforementioned Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you do your team.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah. Chris, can we get that edited out, Chris, please? No? Okay.
Nah, them boys are buns. Tampa Bay clinches a win. Clinches a win.
Wow.
Tampa Bay clinches a playoff berth with a win or a tie or Chicago loss. Man, a lot of people are relying on Chicago to lose. This is really crazy.
Yeah.
Like, who the heck is Chicago playing?
It's a lot of mathematical stuff.
But it's like everybody is like, yo, if Chicago loses, man, this is it. But it feels like everybody is relying on the Bears.
Because Chicago needs to be knocked out of playoff contention. That's why. So with them losing, they'll be out of playoff contention.
Gotcha. And
finally,
just to confirm just to confirm for everybody, just in case people don't know, the Bears have the fortunate pleasure of playing the Jaguars.
Yes.
So we'll see what happens. And the Jaguars are in the Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes. So
they're leading the Trevor Lawrence sweepstake right now. So
they in it. They trying to win it.
So don't expect a. Do not expect 100% maximum effort out there, folks.
Right. Exactly.
And finally, we have the Washington football team, aka Wildfire. Shout out to Tom Grassi for that. Face off against the Carolina Panthers Sunday afternoon. They will clinch the NFC East Least I-95 24/7 title with a win and a Giants loss or tie. Or a tie and the Giants loss and a Philadelphia and Dallas tie.
Way too much. Too much.
We both said this. So we would potentially have 3 to 4 teams or 3 to 4 divisions being decided week 17.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy. I think, we're going to see what happens. It's going to be an interesting one, to say the least.
I can't wait.
No, I'm pretty sure. It's going to be, that's the one that people are going to be watching for.
I know.
But those are the seedings scenario. Those are scenarios.
The potential for teams to try to get a seat at that table.
Yeah.
For each of their respective conferences. And we'll see who, within 2 weeks when the playoffs start, who will be marching their way to the head of the table.
Without question. So we're going to see what happens. I don't know what. I just don't know. I mean, it's going to come down to the wire. And I guess this is what we wanted coming into a COVID year.
Absolutely.
I think this is what we wanted. So I think it's been fun. I think we're going to get some really, really good playoff games, regardless of who makes it.
Playoff starts this week. So the playoff starts this week for a lot of teams because they.
A lot of these teams.
I thought I didn't need to explain that. I thought you
explain that one there, boy. I was like, what's he talking about there? Playoffs start this week.
We thought in 2 weeks. What are you talking about?
Wait a minute. Like, I still got a chance. But yeah, definitely let's wait and see what happens. Hopefully a team doesn't let me down.
And with that, folks, we'll be right back with more Debate Amongst Friends right after this.
Every week, we like to do what's called the 2-minute drill, where we go over stories and headlines that we didn't get a chance to cover during the show. This past week, we actually had the announcement that Derek Fisher would be named the GM of the LA Sparks WNBA team. Prof?
Yikes. Monday Night Football analyst Louis Riddick interviewed for the general manager's job for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Back to you, Doc.
And finally, in holiday cheer, Drew Holiday is going to donate the rest of his 2020 NBA salary to Black-owned small businesses and nonprofits, which is pretty awesome.
It is awesome. Shout out to him.
Of course, we would like to wish everyone a happy and safe Christmas as well as New Year. We will be back after the New Year to celebrate with you all a 2021, hopefully, where we will get a chance to hit the reset button. Be sure to tune in for more news, more analysis, and the reads.